On the 5, a recurring altercation between Jessica Tarlov and Greg Gutfeld was being captured on camera. Sharp conversations about immigration, criminality, and political accountability have long been the foundation of their on-air rivalry. This argument, however, did not remain regular. In real time, control slipped as the back and forth became personal and voices became more raised. Tarlov was removed off-set shortly after producers intervened and the cameras cut away. Fox doesn't overlook anything that crosses a line. Producers were seen physically requesting Fox News co-hosts Jessica Tarlov and Greg Gutfeld to leave the stage on television, sparking a furious on-air argument that has become one of the most talked-about moments on the 5. During a lengthy discussion about immigration, presidential leadership, and Donald Trump's comeback to the political limelight, the altercation took place. As the show began, the hosts argued on Trump's previous immigration statements. Gutfeld said that Trump's supporters were angry about institutions being manipulated, such as birthright citizenship and asylum laws. There is a distinction between people who are lawfully in the nation and those who are not, as demonstrated by Tarlov's pushback when she disagreed. Gutfeld kept cutting her off and supporting Trump's leadership style, making it impossible for her to even make her argument. In contrast to President Biden's more subdued strategy, he praised Trump's pace and media participation. Trump has demonstrated overwhelming public support, according to Gutfeld, who cited polling data as the discussion between the two heated up. Trump has rolled back Biden-era programs like the DI initiatives, expanded enforcement, and transgender participation in sports. However, Tarlov immediately responded, questioning the ethical ramifications of majority rule. She cautioned against harshness that passes for populism. However, her comments were instantly met with derisive laughter from the crowd, which probably infuriated her further. When they began discussing work culture and social welfare, the discussion erupted into a heated argument in which Tarlov defended Americans who were at risk. The producers were forced to step in and escort Tarlov away as the straightforward conversation devolved into a heated altercation. The show was then abruptly cut to commercial. Remarkably, this is not the first time that Greg Gutfeld and Jessica Tarlov have clashed on a significant issue. He is a conservative, after all, while she has a liberal voice. This causes them to argue frequently about a variety of subjects, such as the time they met in person to talk about the notorious Charlie Kirk incident. When co-hosts Tarlov and Gutfeld were talking about the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in September 2025, a heated on-air argument broke out between them on Fox News The 5. Turning Point USA's founder, Kirk, passed away while giving a speech at a gathering, sparking a significant and nearly violent dispute. Tarlov, the liberal voice at the round table, cautioned against generalizing about political upheaval throughout the panel. Any claim regarding the case, according to her, ought to be supported by thorough evidence and context. She cited other tragic incidents, such as the passing of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman, to support her claim that political turmoil cannot be solely attributed to one political faction. Gutfeld dismissed her statement right away, insisting that the pertinent point was why violence in recent high-profile cases like that one appeared to be primarily emanating from the left. He even interrupted Tarlov. Gutfeld angrily told Tarlov, "Don't play that nonsense with me," dismissing the notion of a two-sided dispute when she pressed about references to prior occurrences. The conversation soon grew increasingly heated. Hortman's passing didn't receive the same kind of media attention as Kirk's, according to Gutfeld, who questioned whether many viewers were even aware of her before her passing. "That issue is over," he told her, dismissing Tarlov's argument. But she was even more agitated as a result. Due to the fact that the two were publicly arguing over facts during a delicate national moment, this incident garnered a lot of attention online. However, this is not the first time that they have disagreed. The two anchors have been debating whether or not to consider both viewpoints while hosting The 5. However, another startling confrontation occurred during a contentious discussion on abortion regulations. In a September 2024 episode of The 5, Tarlov and Gutfeld got into another heated on-air argument about abortion policy, which is one of the most significant ideological differences in the country right now. Gutfeld began by arguing that the abortion issue was no longer a defining national concern in the next election since President Trump and the Supreme Court had essentially restored abortion regulation to the states. He actually stated that abortion is no longer a national concern. Women voters don't have to make it their exclusive priority as a result. According to him, local voters now have a greater say in the issue than does the president. Tarlov responded forcefully, contesting Gutfeld's assertions regarding their veracity as well as their premise. She cited recent remarks made by Trump. Similar to Florida, he was open to raising the abortion limit past 6 weeks, although his team later withdrew those statements. Then she questioned why Trump had changed his mind. She claimed that Trump's political speech and position on reproductive rights were contradictory. They kept talking over each other and interrupting each other, as they frequently do when they are at odds. Tarlov was focusing on practical ramifications and evolving political realities, while Gutfeld was framing the discussion in more general electoral terms. Politically scattered and no longer at the center of national decision-making, Gutfeld presented the situation. Tarlov, however, contended that changing stances and continuous government regulations maintained abortion's strong political stance. There have been numerous arguments between Tarlov and Gutfeld throughout the years, and occasionally they become overly personal. Tarlov had her own response after Gutfeld once said something that struck too close to home. Fox News co-hosts Gutfeld and Tarlov attracted notice once more on a 2022 episode of The Five when they disagreed about the tone and mood. Between a conversation about Elon Musk's social media behavior and the conjecture behind Paul Pelosi's attack. Debating Musk's deleted tweet in reaction to a Hillary Clinton post about the event, the panel started with Tarlov denouncing the spread of false information and Gutfeld characterizing Musk's remarks as provocative trolling. Gutfeld said to Tarlov, "Look at you." As the back and forth continued, "You're becoming very sentimental about this," indicating that her response was unduly impacted. The audience gasped in shock as soon as he stated this, and everyone was taken aback. Tarlov pushed back right away, claiming that being excited about a topic and speaking in a higher-pitched voice were simply normal and did not indicate emotional excess. However, his claim that she was too sentimental was incorrect because this term frequently has strong implications that cut over gender boundaries. In a lighthearted edition, Jesse Waters, another co-host, mentioned that Gutfeld had just informed a woman that she was too emotional. Tarlov made a playful but clear reminder, "HR watches this," as the banter went on. The other hosts laughed as she pointedly reminded him of the training and workplace standards. Gutfeld joked, "Is that a threat?" in response to this. "Well done, you." It may have been a lively exchange. However, unlike when Tarlov was removed from the set, it didn't end the segment. Despite being viewed as routine by many viewers accustomed to the back and forth between the two, the footage became a widely debated moment when it was widely disseminated on social media. Everyone wants to know what they're like in real life because they are the most prominent debate opponents on The Five. Insiders claim that despite Tarlov and Gutfeld's frequent and heated on-air arguments, their real-life relationship involves aspects of respect for one another, professional camaraderie, and even personal support. It is assumed by all that the dramatic verbal fighting on television is a reflection of genuine personal distaste. However, insiders who know them will have disclosed a distinct aspect of their relationship off-camera. Tarlov and Gutfeld constantly dispute on TV about important political topics, such as immigration, presidential leadership, and the reasons behind political unrest. Usually, these discussions get heated and elicit strong reactions from the audience. However, they overlook the fact that these discussions are a component of the Five structure, which feeds on ideological disagreement between the conservative panelists and the lone liberal voice. According to Tarlov, the nature of the show is similar to talks that people have in real life with friends and family who have diverse opinions. Therefore, she doesn't really despise Gutfeld or anyone else. They aren't precisely rivals off camera, despite the fact that this doesn't imply they are close friends. When Tarlov returned to the studio following her father's passing, Gutfeld offered her support and heartfelt condolences in a private moment, assuring her of the team's support during a trying period and urging her to take her time. This is a far cry from what you would anticipate, given that they are always involved in contentious discussions on television. Even though they argue on air, the five panelists typically need to get along in order to preserve the show's dynamic, according to colleagues and insiders. The show's chemistry has been discussed, but it constantly points out that even if Tarlov and Gutfeld argue a lot during arguments, This is a part of the professional dynamic and isn't a sign of personal animosity. Additionally, Gutfeld has stated that he and Jesse Waters truly enjoy Tarlov and that, despite his occasional outbursts of rage, this is a part of their on-air dynamic. Additionally, he said that their feelings are reciprocated. Tarlov, a conservative host, is viewed by Fox News viewers as a liberal counterpoint. Despite significant on-air outbursts, such as the contentious September 2025 debate about political violence, the two have publicly made amends on air. Tarlov confirmed that she wasn't upset with Gutfeld during the argument, and he later apologized for raising his voice, claiming that the topic was personal. This is only one instance in which they treat themselves with encouraging gestures and friendly backstage conduct. Without genuinely displaying personal hostility, they have a working relationship that makes their arguments quite persuasive. Interestingly, though, Fox News covers many rivalries than just this one. You may have also observed the rivalry between Gutfeld and Kilmeade, which many people follow if you watch a lot of Fox News. The rivalry between Kilmeade and Greg Gutfeld is another. This has grown to be one of Fox News's most discussed dynamics. But rather than genuine hostility, it's a complicated blend of on-air banter, various styles, and self-aware humor. Gutfeld, presenter of Gutfeld and co-host of The Five, is renowned for his aggressive, sarcastic, and irreverent style. The fact that he so irritated Tarlov that Fox producers ordered her to leave is therefore not surprising. Kilmeade, one of Fox and Friends' primary hosts, approaches broadcast journalism with a more conventional, earnest approach. Due to their disparate approaches and tones, they have engaged in a number of verbal altercations on live, interspersed with interruptions, jokes, and incisive commentary that highlight their divergent personalities. Kilmeade's somber analysis is occasionally interrupted or undermined by Gutfeld's comedy. This is particularly noticeable during panel discussions when Gutfeld's keen sense of humor challenges Kilmeade's style. An intriguing moment occurred when Gutfeld made a joke that highlighted the conflict between Fox and Friends and received a big response from the audience. They might as well be cheering for Kilmeade. Both hosts have acknowledged that a lot of this is staged for amusement, despite the fact that these on-air situations appear heated or competitive. Kilmeade smiled and joked to Gutfeld during an appearance when they were talking about Gutfeld's book. Gutfeld retorted wryly that people would worry if they weren't fascinated with someone. The rivalry is generally amicable, as seen by Kilmeade's subsequent statement that the jokes didn't truly annoy him. Kilmeade and Gutfeld have a friendly and mutual connection behind the scenes. There is another competitor, though, besides Gutfeld. Jesse Waters, who is actually close to Gutfeld on the show, is one of Tarlov's many competitors who are also Fox News hosts. Jessica Tarlov and Jesse Waters have engaged in a number of contentious on-air arguments on The Five that highlight both the show's highly opinionated tone and their wider ideological differences. Many people have taken notice of their conversations because of their acerbic language and obvious tension. One of the most notable exchanges occurred during a debate about immigration policy, when Waters reaffirmed his tough-line position that they are illegal. Jessica. This prompted Tarlov to refute his framing by citing instances of several unauthorized immigrants who have not been found guilty of any crimes. The argument swiftly devolved into personal attacks after beginning as one about policy. At one time, Tarlov responded sharply to Waters' way of living by saying, "Who's going to do your manicure?" The producers were gesturing for a cut since their dispute was getting so heated. They had to end the discussion since it had become personal. Their conflicts have also taken various forms. When they were debating access to the COVID-19 vaccine under Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tarlov raised her voice and questioned his doubts about the eligibility requirements for vaccines, accusing Waters of not being well prepared for the conversation. Then, asking for more details, Waters said, "To whom? Can't anyone obtain a COVID-19 vaccination?" And Tarlov gave a forceful response, demonstrating the annoyance and candor of their discussions. In addition to immigration and public health, the two have sparred in other contexts, such as debates in which Tarlov's policy arguments have been met with sarcasm or mocking insults from Waters, causing viewers to respond passionately to their dynamic on the internet. Tarlov has also frequently engaged in on-screen altercations with other Fox News anchors, such as Janine Piro. Tarlov and Janine Piro's interaction on The Five has been characterized by harsh on-air discussions that frequently push the show to its limit due to their stark ideological disagreements and disparate communication skills. They got into a fight over immigration policy, among other things. When Tarlov and Piro publicly divided on the meaning of lawful asylum and more general enforcement, Tarlov questioned Piro on whether arriving by illegal means could possibly qualify as refuge, arguing that U.S. law requires due process to be followed. Because of this, Piro insisted that the only due process she favored was legal admission. This resulted in a back-and-forth that exposed the two's stark differences. And further noteworthy exchange occurred during a segment concerning the car incident in New Orleans at the beginning of 2025. In response to Piro's portrayal of the incident, Tarlov criticized Republicans for distorting the story to emphasize border vulnerability and emphasized that the offender was an American citizen rather than an illegal immigrant. Strongly objecting, Piro maintained that she was not claiming to be an immigrant, and asserting that crime associated with illegal immigration remained a significant issue. As both speakers corrected and interrupted one another, the conversation became more heated. Insiders at Fox News claim that they once had a dispute that got so bad that the production staff had to step in. These reports state that Piro tried to finish her points uninterrupted while both hosts shouted loudly over one another, and Tarlov's will to give up. Concerned that decorum was eroding, the producers cut straight to the commercial. Tarlov was conspicuously absent from the set when the concert restarted, an unexpected development that fueled audience conjecture. Juan Williams and Janine Piro have a startling rivalry among Fox News anchors and have argued loudly on television. Particularly during debates over Donald Trump's impeachment hearings, Juan Williams and Janine Piro have had some of the most intense on-air exchanges on Fox News panel discussion show, The Five. They are not personally hostile, but they have frequently clashed on live television, making them prime illustrations of how heated political debates can spiral out of control. During coverage of the impeachment investigation, Williams, who is well known for being the liberal voice on the panel, cited ABC News Ipsos poll, which revealed that the majority of Americans believe Trump's request for a foreign leader to look into a political rival was incorrect. This was one of the most prominent confrontations. The conservative former judge and ardent Trump supporter Piro quickly disputed his interpretation. Democrats, she claimed, were using impeachment as a bunch of bullshit. A lot of phone calls, a lot of hearsay, dismissing the procedures, and criticizing the opposition's approach. As Williams went on to cite the poll and urge people to listen to the impeachment hearings, the conversation quickly became heated. For about 30 seconds, the two hosts yelled over one another, and Piro said, "Don't tell me to stop. I am a judge." Williams shot back, "You should know better for a judge." "Do not go there," shouted Piro. "Don't go there." The argument became so heated that Waters and the other co-hosts had to step in to redirect the program back to the more general discussion and put an end to the altercation. The contentious exchange was extensively reported as a significant scandal by media sources. As a matter of fact, The Five's co-hosts' frequent on-air arguments have come to characterize the show's dynamic. Viewers and other media have reacted strongly to it, particularly after Fox producers removed Jessica Tarlov from the set following the violent altercation with Greg Gutfeld. The format of the show, which purposefully blends conservative experts like Greg Gutfeld, Jesse Waters, and Janine Piro with liberal voices like Jessica Tarlov and Juan Williams, almost ensures strong arguments. A lot of interruptions and loud voices as participants attempt to justify wildly different political opinions. Throughout episodes, these arguments frequently turn into furious arguments. This pattern was demonstrated in a recent gun control debate when Juan Williams advocated for strengthening mental health resources and closing loopholes. Waters and Gutfeld, two co-hosts, interrupted him several times to refute his claims and question his framing, causing quick back-and-forth chatter. Media analysts have identified 5 cable news programs with some of the most intensely fought panel debates of the year due to the frequency and severity of these clashes, particularly after significant national events and political flashpoints. One well-known instance is when Tarlov and Gutfeld got into a heated argument over Charlie Kirk's murder. However, many claim that The Five's allure is a result of these ongoing conflicts. The clash of opposing viewpoints and animated discussion that keeps viewers interested are what the show feeds on. They constantly interrupt and contest each other's facts. After all, the conflict between Tarlov and Gutfeld has been ongoing throughout the years and isn't limited to a single incident. On which side are you? Please share your opinions in the comments. We appreciate you watching this video and hope to see you in the future one.